welcome to episode 40 of the Brownie Knits podcast. I'm your host, Gina, aka Brownie Knits, and this is my little co-host, Kennedy, aka Kiki. Nice big tongue lick there for you. So welcome back, or if you're new to the podcast, welcome in. So today I'm going to talk about some recent fiber events that I've been lucky enough to attend, some finished projects, and some works in progress, and some knitspiration. So I hope that you will join me for a quick little video here and find something that you like. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry, Facebook, Craftsy, Etsy, all of those places, even Pinterest too, as Brownie Knits. And thanks again for watching. So the first thing that I wanted to show you guys is something that I actually tested for the designer at Knitter's Life back last year. And so I've had this done for a while, and she just recently released the pattern, so I can show you my shawl. So I'm going to move Kiki down onto my lap, see if she'll sit there for a while. And here is the shawl. So this is the Raindrops Shawl by Christina of A Knitter's Life. I knitted mine as the sock weight version. I used Madelinetosh Tosh Sock in a special colorway that was dyed for the store Simply Socks. They have a great online presence, so you can probably find it there still if they have any left. This was old stash, so I was working on knitting down my stash when I did this too. The color is, I believe it's pronounced Olef Clair, O-L-E-F, and then Clair without the E on the end. And this is, like I said, it's called Raindrops. If you look in the stockinette section, there are little purl bumps, like a raindrop hitting a window. And then as you go down, the yarn overs get bigger, just like they would if they were coming down, drizzling down a window pane. So it's very sweet. In the pattern that she released, you can either use sock weight yarn or a DK weight yarn. And it's just really, it's a nice little one that you can wear. I like to wear it in the front around my neck. So that was one finished object that I wanted to show and share with you guys. And I do think that Christina has a special running on it right now. This is, I don't know, April 22nd, 2016. So if you go over to her group, she should have the details up there for you. It's so pretty. And I thought it really worked well. It's always nice when a yarn and the color of a yarn works well with a pattern. So I thought it turned out quite lovely. The second project I have is a pair of socks, and I knitted these for two of the cows that we have going on in the group. So I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about those knit-alongs first. So the first one is we have the year-long 2016 Stash Down, which is a knit-along and a crochet along, and we're trying to work down our stash. That so if you had it in your stash as of January 1st, 2016, it qualifies. And even if most of your project is from stash and then you had to supplement it with a newly bought yarn, that qualifies too. So when I started out this year, I had my closet, I used to call our guest closet the closet of death, because every time I opened it, it was like it was trying to kill me because things would just follow all over me. And I'm a very organized person, so that drove me absolutely crazy. So it was full of stash. I had these two humongous storage bins full of stash. I had like 5 humongous, like those big lantern moon baskets full, a hamper full, and then like one very overstuffed shelf on a bookshelf. So as I've been knitting down and crocheting down my stash, I have gotten it down to where I was able to organize it on a bookshelf. So here's a photo of my current stash, and I really like having it out because I can see it, see what I have, see what I want to make. So I have lots of ideas for what each of them will become. Of course, that's fluid. You know, we change our minds all the time on what we want to make or not make. So made a lot of progress. Some of it was because I donated some yarn to charity, but you know, you just have some yarns in your stash if you've had it for years where it doesn't really appeal to you anymore. So I made some tough decisions. Oof. But anyway, so for our 2016 stash down, you can go to the thread in the Brownie Knits group on Ravelry to see the rules, and then you can load up patterns you're interested in working on, your works in progress, your finished items, and then every 2 months I draw a winner, and our next winner will be drawn in June. So I'm going to show you what the new prize package is for that. Sit her down for a second. All right. So, the June prize package, you would win 2 skeins of Heritage Cascade, or sorry, not Heritage, Cascade Yarns, the Heather's 220, and it's in this lovely denim-y colorway, and this fur pom-pom, faux fur. And I thought it would be really cute. You could make a hat and matching cowl with them, and put this pom-pom on top of the hat. I thought that would be adorable. So, and I went with a denim-y blue because it's pretty universal. So if you wanted to make it for a guy or a girl, you'd be good to go. So go up and register for that. The second knit along, that one's a knit along crochet along, but the second one that we have going on in the group right now is BrownieSockKAL. And that is for April and May of 2016. I timed it to coincide with my new Brownies sock recipe sock pattern that's out. And I wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who's purchased that. I really appreciate that. It's been so much fun to see all of the socks come to life. And yeah, so you can go up to the thread to register for that one and load pictures of whatever socks you're working on. Feel free to double, triple dip. Socks are so hot right now, so if you're doing other knit-alongs and even crochet-alongs, if you crochet socks, feel free to go ahead and double and triple dip into my knit-along as well. And the prize, we have 2 prizes for that one actually, so I'll draw winners when the time comes. Wrong bag. The first one is this skein of yarn, which is Knit Picks Stroll hand painted in the color Watermelon. So somebody will win that. It would make a lovely pair of socks. And the second one would win this awesome Flower Power set from Knitting I Love. And Barbara has the Knitting I Love podcast. You would get the circular needle holder, the DPNs, a couple of tags, and then the needle coaster. So, and it's a lovely green color. So that would be really fun. All right, so those are 2 of the knit-alongs that we have going on, and the giveaways that correspond. And so these socks qualified for both, and they are out of my stash, out of Knit Picks Felici. I had two balls in the rainbow colorway. I made them on US ones, 2.25 millimeter, and I used my Brownies sock recipe for them. I used cuff option 2. Leg option 2, foot option 2, and toe option 2. So I thought they turned out really well, and they were fun to make. I did them 2 at a time, like I said, on the US ones. And I've had a couple people ask me questions about leg length, and I addressed this in a special sock video I did, but I didn't in like a regular podcast episode, so I thought I'd mention it here. I like my own personal preference for my leg depth is a little bit higher. So, I mean, if you have somebody who wants them lower, it doesn't matter. You can totally do that. It doesn't matter. You can totally customize it. But how I like to do mine, I do it so that my foot length and my leg length from the heel fold is the same. And my foot is 8.5 inches. And so for me, I believe I did, I think it's 18 repeats, 4-row repeats before I did the setup for the heel. And then I think I have like, I don't know, 16 or maybe it's 14 because I did the longer toe here, and then my toe. So they that's pretty much how I do almost all of my socks. I also have really short feet. So for me, I don't have to worry about not having enough yarn. If I had longer feet, I probably would not do it equivalent. And as a matter of fact, I don't for my husband. He has longer feet, so sometimes I steal from the leg to make sure that I have enough yarn to do his foot. So yeah, so there's a little bit of information for you. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that if you do the garter toe, garter stitch toe option on the pattern, when you make it, the heel, or the toe, I'm sorry, will actually fold over like this. So you're making it and it comes off the bottom of the foot and it folds in half like this. So then you Kitchener it right here, and it kind of mimics like a seam line of a store-bought sock. But if you're really good at Kitchener, you don't even really see it. So yeah, so I hope you guys socks are so big right now. Like, we had this discussion at the little knitting retreat, girls' friend knitting retreat that I went to, about like why socks are so hot. And I personally, being a little bit larger, think that it's because they always fit. It's like a purse or a pair of shoes. So anyway, those are my two finished projects. So on the girls trip, I went with Christina of A Knitter's Life and my friend Carol from Cincinnati. We have been talking for years about going to like a little inn or B&B and just knitting all weekend. And so finally we actually did it. And we went down to Nashville, Indiana, in Brown County, Indiana. It's very beautiful down there. And stayed at a little inn, and it was so much fun. We had such a nice time. In Indiana in the spring, it can be freezing, which it was that day. And I had on my wool coat and my wool hat and my cowl and my mittens. I actually think I had on a scarf with my cowl. It was absolutely freezing. And then the next weekend it was in the 80s. So you just never know. But anyway, that weekend we went down and we found a coffee shop where we could just sit and knit, and we were knitting on our socks and just chatting and catching up. And we had an interesting sock conversation. And I thought I'd share that with you guys because it was interesting. Carol and I both do not prefer to knit socks with double points because it hurts our hands. So it hits both of us in our palm. And for me, it really cramps up my fingers. And yeah, I end up with injuries all over my hands and fingers. And Carol it really does a number on her palms as well. But Christina loves knitting on double pointed needles. And doesn't prefer to knit her socks the way that Carol and I do, which is either 2 circs or magic loop 2 at a time. And so we were theorizing on why that was. And so we held our hands up to each other. And I have the smallest hands, and then Carol had medium, and then Christina had the larger hands. And my fingertips came to the top joint of Christina's fingers. And I really think that allows her to work with her fingers with her palms further back from the ends of the double points. And that's why she doesn't get stabbed the way that we do. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if you guys have your own theories on it. Yeah, so it was kind of an interesting little discussion. So we did that. We went and had something, we tried to go have something to eat. It was insanely busy. So what do you do when you're a knitter and you're on a girls' weekend and you can't get into a restaurant to eat? You go to a yarn shop. So we went to the yarn shop, the Clay Pearl, and I'll have a little photo here. They have a cute sign out front on their fence railing for their shop name. And we went in, and she had a little puppy that was 6 to 9 months old, I think, that was absolutely so cute. I think her name was Sophia. And she was just adorable. I think we wanted to sneak her away in our bag. But so we played with her for a little bit and did a little bit of yarn shopping. I think we each, I'm not sure if Carol bought something. I think we each did. I think we each bought a skein of yarn. And I had on my list, I have been keeping since last year, since January. So with my stash down that I'm working on doing, I'm also working on trying not to buy or acquire new yarns, but as you'll see in this podcast, that's a big old fail. But if I do acquire new yarns to my stash, I've been trying to work it up within 6 months of it joining the stash. And so to combat the yarn envy that I get when I watch podcasters, I've kept like a master list of yarns that I want to try sometime. And then that way I can, you know, if somebody like my husband said he wanted a birthday item list, some ideas of things that I'd really enjoy getting, I was able to pull from that list. So one of the things that I had on my list was Ancient Arts yarn. And so I picked up a skein of it, and it's in this lovely denim-y color. It doesn't have a color name on the label, just a dye lot, but it is their 3-ply fingering sock, which is an 80% superwash merino and a 20% nylon. The yardage is a little bit shorter than some sock skeins. It's 372 yards. So I'll probably actually end up using this in a shawl as the main color in a shawl, and then, you know, with different pops of color. There was a shawl that I had in mind. I have it in my queue. I'll have to go and look which one it was, but I think that's what this will become. So I can actually pair it with some stash yarn to see how I justify things. Like if I pair it with stash yarn, then I'm actually reducing my stash by buying a skein, right? That makes sense. So that was fun. We went to the little shop and did that, and then went over and grabbed some much needed nourishment and checked into our room, and then we just like hung out and drank a little bit of wine and had some gorgeous cheese and crackers and strawberries, and hung out and knitted and just really enjoyed each other's company. We went and grabbed dinner and got cozy, and then we all have a spring birthdays. So we decided that since we don't get together very often at all, that this would be our joint spring birthday celebration. So we gave each other some yarny goodiness. I had kitted together a huge pack of mini skeins for each of the ladies, and thought, you know, they could make socks, scrappy socks, or if they wanted to, they could make a crocheted scrap gown like I'm making, and I'll show in a bit. And it just so happened that morning when we were at the coffee shop that they both mentioned that they wanted to make a scrap gown, that they wanted to do a crocheted scrap gown. And so I worked very hard on not like letting it show on my face, but I was very happy that that meant they'd be happy to receive that part of their gift. So yeah, they got a few other things, goodies, but that was one thing that I, you know, worked hard on putting together, and it was so much fun to put together. So yeah, that'll be fun to see their crochet afghans come to life too. And then they gave me some wonderful gifts. So first up, I received this Mrs. Crosby's Hatbox yarn in the color Wildflowers from Carol, and it is just so beautiful. Oh my gosh, the colors are amazing. And she also gave me, and I'm a very bad nail painter, she also gave us this lovely nail polish, and it coordinates nicely, doesn't it? Anyway, this is a sport weight yarn. Let's see. 75% superwash merino, 15% silk, and 10% cashmere. So it has to become a shawl. And I keep looking at all sorts of shawl patterns in Ravelry, trying to figure out what I want to do. And all the shawls that I'm drawn to are have a lot of garter in them. And I just keep looking at this and thinking that it would be more beautiful in stockinette. But I don't know why I think that. I just do. So I'm looking for a shawl that will use up all of this. 2 skeins, 317 yards each, and a sport weight. Although, you know, if a shawl calls for a fingering or a DK weight, I can make it work with a sport. It's just gorgeous. So right now I'm just enjoying looking at it on my shelf and thinking, oh, it's so beautiful. So if you have any ideas, I'm totally open to suggestions. I don't really want to make a cowl. I'd rather do like a shell or a neckerchief. Yeah, so fun and squishy and lovely. So I just showed you what Carol gifted us, and then Christina decided that because this was like a little knitter's retreat for us, that we needed a special bag for the event and a special colorway of yarn, just like if you went to a real retreat. So she made us these bags and they're so cute. She uses vintage fabric. So I think she mentioned this was a pillowcase at one time. So it's got this lovely spring colors and tulips and flowers on the outside. And then this pink, girly pink on the inside with the doily, or not doily, the lace applied to it, and her little Knitter's Life on the back. Super, super cute. And then to go along with it, she dyed up this skein, and I just love it. It reminds me of like cake sprinkles or ice cream sprinkles. I just think it's gorgeous. And this will become a pair of socks. So, yummy. You just kind of want to like chew it up. So cute. And I think she mentioned that she used acid dyes to do this, I believe. So it's so funny. Everything coordinates. Like it matches my fingernails. So I was so excited to receive those gifts, and more importantly, to get to spend the time with both of them. We found this adorable tea shop the next day, and oh, it's so cute. So I think if we do this again in the future, that we will probably be parked there most of the time. And so then that week went by. You know, everything feels like right now it's going by in like this dizzy speed, and then you don't even know what happened that week. So that week went by, and then we had the Green Castle fiber event, and it's gotten small. I think it's gotten smaller over the years. So I went into that event thinking, oh, you know, it's a fiber event, so I'll go and have fun. I'll have a few items that I'm going to look for to purchase, but I really wasn't expecting to find a huge amount. And you all know, like when you go shopping for something, then you don't find that. And if you don't go shopping for something and you're just out, then you find everything, right? So I kind of found everything. I also went into this event thinking I'm not going to get sucked into I want to try another craft, because I go to these things and I see all the beautiful work that people do, spinning and weaving and rug hooking and all these different things, and I think I want to do that too. And then I get the stuff and I bring it home, and then when I sit down and I get to choose what I want to do, I pick up my knitting and I pick up my crocheting and I pick up my cross stitch. So I thought I'm not going to get sucked into that, and I got sucked into it. But I kept it very controlled. So I bought a one project and done kind of thing. So let's see, get the right. So I purchased a kit to make a sunflower wall hanging. And I'm showing the photo here right now of the finished one that they had hanging. And then you could purchase a backing for it that has the line drawing on it. So here's the one that I picked, and it's reading like kind of washed out on screen, but it's really a nice yellowy gold plaid wool. And so that'll be my main one. And then my stem yarn will be this green fabric. And I think the center of my sunflower will be this fun wool fabric in this like brown but decorated kind of fabric. And then my leaves, I'm going to do kind of a mixture of this pinkish red wool and then this awesome, could not turn it down, plaid wool. So you could just buy the little remnants to coordinate with your hanging one. So, can you see them all yet? Nope. There we go. So there you can see it all together, how it'll look. And I just bought like a little beginner's rug hook because I had gotten rid of all my rug hooking several years ago. So I am just going to use rug hookers, maybe close your ears. I'm just going to use a cross stitch hook because it is just a one project and done. I didn't want to reinvest in a frame. So, and just, you know, one of the little beginner's hooks will do. And she had hers so that it had like a string on the back for hanging it. I might do that, or I might end up putting it into a picture frame to hang it up. So I think either way it would be cute. My guest bath downstairs is all decorated in sunflowers. So I'll either find a spot in there for it or hang it right outside of that room. So now that I've shown it to you, I can start working on it. So I think it'll be a one-day project, hopefully, and then be done. So, and I'll put the information in the show notes for the lady who was selling them, in case you want to check that out. So actually, you know what? I think I have her business card right in here. Yes, I do. So it is from Bev Stewart of Whispering Pines Designs. She's located in Clayton, Indiana. So, and I'll put her information in the show notes. Okay, so I purchased that, and then I wanted to get a nitty naughty that I could use to make more mini skeins, and we found those in one of the booths, and it's so cute. Isn't it adorable? So they had a little bit of a smaller one, but it looked a little bit too delicate to me. I was afraid I'd break it. So I went with this one, and I plan to keep it on my stash shelf when it's not in use. But that'll be fun and would have been helpful when I was making up. I think I made up, when I made the kits for the girls, I did somewhere around 30 to 35 for each of them, and then I was in 2 swaps at the time, and then I made up some others for something else. So I counted it up one day, and I had made 130 mini skeins by hand. So yeah, yeah, but it was fun. So I picked up that, and then the other thing that had been on my list was mini skeins for my scrap can. So I'm going to show you actually my scrap can right now. And I have been working on this thing like mad because I have pretty bad spring allergies, and my fingers have memorized how to do this pattern, so I don't have to think and hurt my bruised noggin when I'm working on it. So I've made huge progress. I've done all of these blocks. The main color yarn is Knit Picks Hawthorne in the color Poseidon. And all of the center yarns are either leftovers from socks and stuff, shawls and stuff that were in my stash. I had a huge basket that was just full of those. Or they're yarns that I received in mini skein swaps. So I have all of that where it's already joined. But I also have this bag that, excuse the crunchiness, I have this bag that I throw skeins or throw squares into when I'm working on it. So what I do, let's say I have this little bit of a mini in my little basket. I will actually work up as much as I can from this. So I'll get as many squares as I can, and then if there's a little bit left over, I'll try to Frankenstein some blocks together. So if I can only do one round, that's what I do. And then I'll put a block into the blanket right away, and I put the rest of them in that little plastic bag. And then after I've gotten some rows done up and I'm further away from where the original was, I can toss in more. So hopefully that'll keep me from grouping them too much. Of course, you know, the whole like numbers and math theory of, even though that you think there's not a pattern, there's always a pattern. Yes, that it always does work out that way, but make a little bit of an effort to try and not to group them too closely. So, and I used to have all of my leftover yarns in a basket that was like this size, and now I have them in this little one. And so I'm working my way down, and I did find and purchase a set of minis from this booth that I literally stood in the booth, and I'm going to put up some photos here for you. I stood in the booth and held my head in my hands and said, also gorgeous. I don't know what to do. So I had to take a few deep breaths and then figure out what I wanted to purchase. And the booth is from Leading Men Fiber Arts. And you can find them on leadingmenfiberarts.bigcartel.com. And because they do sell all of their yarn there as well as going to shows. And they, it's two gentlemen who are in Illinois. And one of them hosts the podcast Dramatic Knits. So you might have seen that. And if you haven't, go and check out his podcast. And their yarn was just gorgeous. It's beautiful colors, vibrant colors, and the twist is amazing, and the feel is amazing. Like, I just don't think you could go wrong with anything from them. So I picked up a skein or set bag of, they had Showstopper minis. So it's, each one is 20 grams. And let's see, let me dig them out for you. So here are 4 of the 5. And they're each 20 grams and 92 yards each. And they're gorgeous. They're so pretty. And it's fingering weight yarn, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. The colors are so good. The color names, I mean. Rusted the Grouch, Envy, Green Gables, Shadow in the Trees. So I have one that's already wound up that I'm not showing here. So you get 460 yards total in their little Showstopper mini kit. And I bought them thinking that I would use them on my scrap gan. And then yesterday when I wound one up, I'm like, it would be a gorgeous shawl design because you could go from darker to lightest and do a bottom-up shawl and do some kind of theme for, in the colorways that I had. I thought, oh, it'd be so pretty in like a fall themed colored shawl. But I'm going to stick to using the minis for my scrap can since that's what I purchased them for. And then I might keep a little bit out of each of one of them to do maybe some scrappy socks or something. But if I end up wanting to design a shawl with the gradients later, I can go back and get some more. But so I picked that up, and if I was being good, I would have stopped there. I had my Nitty Naughty, I had a kit I wasn't supposed to buy for the sunflower thing, and my minis, but I wasn't being good. And I picked up these yarns, and I justified them by saying, well, my husband loves it when I make socks for him, so I can, and I really truly don't have any like yarn left in my stash that is like appropriate for a men's pair of socks. So I did need to get eventually some more sock yarn to knit him some socks, but I probably could have waited too, but I justified it. And what I think I'm gonna do is work on another sock design that I'll release later this year, and I'm hoping that these yarns that I purchased will work up well in the pattern that I have in mind. Not certain yet, and if it doesn't, then hey, they'll just become some other socks. Oh, it's so pretty, so gorgeous. So the bottom one is Showstopper, 463 yards, and the color is Turkey Run. And the top one is Copper Cloud. It's also on their Showstopper base, but it's heel and toe yarn, and they called it Intermission, which I think is so cute. I love how they took the theater theme through everything. So Dramatic Knits, Leading Men Fiber Arts, Showstopper, Intermission. Like, it's just very cute how everything ties together. I love that they carried that thread throughout. And it's just amazing yarn, and I cannot wait to start working with it. And then I saw this one. Actually, I think I saw this one very first and went running into their booth. And if you watch the podcast very long, or even if this is your first episode, you're going to notice that I really love red and turquoisey tealy blue together. So that's how I did my banner, and all of my marketing has Brownie Knits that way. And I saw this and had to have it. This is the color Apocalypse on their Showstopper base. And I picked up, I didn't really need it yardage wise, but I was like, not only could I do cute heels and toes with it on out of this Poison Apple, in their intermission. But hey, I'd have a little bit left over for my scrap can. But I got a cute laugh out of the fact that I paired Apocalypse and Poison Apple together. Check them out. Wonderful yarns. I can't say enough about them. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So when I wasn't working on my socks, and if you watched the last podcast episode, I had casted on 2 other pairs of socks. And one pair, I found that the sock, even though it was sock weight yarn, I'm finding that I'm not enjoying knitting socks out of it because it's too thick. It is fingering weight, but it's a heavy fingering. So I'm going to rip that out and use it as a shawl, for a shawl. And then the other pair, I just need to get going on them. So I'll do that soon. And then when I wasn't working on all of that, I was either test knitting I do some test knitting for designers and editing for designers. And then I also test knit for a yarn company. So those things I can't always show you guys. When different patterns and stuff are released, I'll show you, like I did the raindrops today. But so I'll show you them as they're released. But if you are a designer and you're looking for someone to hire to do those things, shoot me up and I'll see if I can fit you in the schedule. And I have all my services listed on BrownieKnits.com on the services tab. But anyway, when I wasn't doing that, I was working on this, and I had said that I hoped to have this done by this podcast, but I didn't know I'd have 2 weeks that were so full of other stuff and allergy heads. So this is in 4/4 time by Francini Knits, and it is a paid for pattern. It is designed to be out of worsted. Because I'm trying to cheat and use yarn from my stash, I'm doing it out of DK. So I'm using size 6 needles, which is not, I don't think that's what's called for in the pattern, but I adjusted it because I'm using DK weight. And I'm using Classic Elite wool bamboo. And I just really love, well, I'm a band geek. And so I really love that the whole theme in 4/4 time, throughout it, you have an Allegro section, you have an intermission section. Funny enough, I was also a drama geek, so maybe that's why I'm a little bit drawn to both of these things. But the rhythm that you get into, everything is kind of done over 4/4 time. So it's very easy to figure out where you're going in your path in the different sections. And just when you might start to get tired of a section, which I haven't, but if you did, then all of a sudden there's something new to do. But it's very easy to fall into because it does have that rhythmic nature to how she designed it. So, and I have my little marker there to show the right side that Emma made me. Thanks, Emma. So, and I'm keeping it in my circular case from Knitting I Love. So I plan to work on this some more over the next couple weeks, and really do hope to have it done by the next podcast. One, I think it'll blow a lot of yardage out of my stash. Two, it's just lovely. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep it. I have a couple people that I have in mind that it would look lovely on that I need to do gifts for anyway. So we'll see how that turns out. All right. So that's kind of everything I had to show in all of those realms of the podcast. And then it's time for Knitspiration. So this week in Knitspiration, or this podcast episode in Knitspiration, I wanted to give a shout out to my friend Hannah in Finland, who has started her own podcast. And she has at least a couple episodes out right now. And by the time you watch this, she might have more. And Hannah is, like I said, in Finland. And last year we were both in the Swap for All season swap, and we were assigned to each other, and you send each other a package each season. So we got to know each other pretty well. And I was always so jealous that Hannah could watch the podcast and kind of see me, and I didn't get to see her. So now I can, and I love that. And every episode, Hannah makes me smile throughout. You will love her energy and her humor. And I really love how she tosses in Finnish words here and there. So you're getting a little bit of an education, and then some of the cultural things that she talks about from Finland. So I just really, really enjoy it. And it's Hannah on Sheep's Alley, and she's on YouTube. and I'll put the link in the show notes as well. So go and check out Hannah. Hi, Hannah. All right, and then my other knitspiration is probably more Yarnspiration. And this is something that I found at a vintage marketplace that we have here in the Indianapolis area. I think they do it maybe every other month or something like that. But you can go to the Indie Vintage Marketplace and there will be everything. So a lot of the booths will have just like, I don't want to call it junk, but like older things, vintagey things that then you can take and as an artist repurpose into other things. But then they also have like just vintage things for purchase too. So I really enjoy it, seeing everybody's artistic side and then getting ideas for myself. And quite a few years ago I went and I found this in a booth and it was so inexpensive and I just grabbed it and it's been in my family room ever since. So it's huge. So I found this gorgeous framed piece of work, and the flower, it has flowers and snails and ladybugs and caterpillars. It's just amazing. I love it. From the 70s because the yarn feels kind of like acrylic rug yarn. So I think that's what they used. A lot of it is embroidered, although some of it is crocheted. And I just love having it down there. It makes me smile, it brightens up the room. So I went and picked up this little mounted burlap frame because that's what they did. They just have burlap and then I think it's just stapled to this wooden frame and then it has like a cardboard backing stapled to it. So I'm gonna try to do my own. We'll see how it goes. I think I'll probably end up, I'm not a skilled embroiderer, so I probably will do mostly like crochet and knit them and then kind of attach them on somehow. So we'll see what I come up with. I have no idea, I have no plan. I just want to do it at some point. So I thought I would share it with you guys in case you felt inspired by it or interested in it, or maybe you've done something like this in the past, or you've seen a family member do it or something. So I just thought it was inspiring to me, so I thought I'd share it in Knitspiration. So, all right, before I go, I already showed the giveaways for the knit-alongs that we have going on in the group, but we have one other giveaway going on, and that is for a digital copy of the book Amelia, about Amelia Earhart. You can win a copy of that book, and the publisher is New Word City. And I'll put up a photo here of the front cover of the book. Like I said, it's about Amelia Earhart, and you can win a digital copy of that book and this skein of Knit Picks Shadow, and the color is Atlantic Kettle Dyed, and it's really gorgeous. It's a lace weight, 100% merino, 440 yards, so it's beautiful. So you can register for that. Go up to the Brownie Knits Ravelry group, and there's a thread for the book and yarn giveaway Amelia. And the question that you need to answer for this one is who's a woman that you admire or are inspired by, things of that nature. And it's been really interesting to read people's responses and learn a little bit about women who inspire them. And I talked about my friend Janet, who might be watching this podcast. Hi, Janet. And Janet was actually my English teacher in junior high and then some of high school. She was also our drama club sponsor and director. And I wrote about her because she really has always encouraged me to be creative and to not be afraid to be myself and take those chances, not to just feel like I always had to live by society's definition of a job or things like that, and really feel free to go after your passion, and if that's a creative passion, do it. So, and I know that she not only has inspired me in that way, but so many students over the years, and she continues to do so. She is a director of one of our schools here in the area, and it's an amazing school system that she's part of. So yeah, so that's who I wrote about. So you can write about somebody that you you know, a family member or someone that you know, or it can be someone famous that you admire as well. So I almost wrote about Elizabeth Zimmerman because of all that she did and continues to do through her works that live on for the knitting industry, knitting and yarn industry. And I really admire her just do it kind of attitude, just go for it. And, you know, so often her patterns were more guidelines kind of thing. So I just really think that's a very cool way to be able to approach creativity. So anyway, I will always try to have a book and yarn giveaway going on in my podcast because I do come from the publishing world and I have a lot of friends who are writers. So I have some different book and yarn giveaways lined up for at least for 2016. So if you're a reader and you love yarn, you can always check those out. All right, so I think that's everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you found something that was interesting to you. I love to hear from you guys and be inspired by all of you. So feel free to go up to the thread for this episode in Ravelry and chat along, and you know, just let me know what you're thinking and doing, what you're working on. So, all right, until next time, happy knitting and crocheting. Bye-bye.